Hello everybody and welcome to Tiger Tales, a place where you'll find stories and fanfictions written and read to you by your host, me, Tai Tiger. Today we're diving into a brand new X-Men storyline. No, this has nothing to do with my Tiger Tales, Marvel and DC fanfiction combined universe, or it has nothing to do with Cosplay Dude 67's Storytime story, The X-Men. This is a brand new thing altogether. I'm just having some fun here. I wanted to see what it would be like if I wrote a story for the X-Men. And, well, this is what I came up with. So, let's just dive straight in. The X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants. World War M. Chapter 1. The Beginning of the End. Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Logan were all chilling out in the lounge area. Rogue and Gambit were out on a date. Beast was in his lab, and Iceman and Storm were in the kitchen. Everyone was peaceful and everything was going nice and slow. Until Professor Xavier strolled through the mansion and reached the front entrance. Logan had noticed the professor just sat there in front of the entrance and noticed he'd been sat there for a good couple of minutes. Logan stood up and walked up to him. "Charles, are you staring at the door for a reason? Unless to you right now there ain't a door?" Logan asked, confused. "We're about to have a visitor, and I can read his mind for the first time in a long time." Professor Xavier sighed. Logan took 3 deep sniffs in. Then his eyes widened. He could tell who was on the other side of the door. Then there was 3 loud knocks on the door. Professor Xavier nodded to Logan, who walked over and opened it, and there stood Magneto, dressed as a civilian. "What are you doing here?" Logan growled. "Logan, calm down. When a mutant comes knocking on this specific door, we welcome them in and offering them a helping hand," Xavier barked. "But this is Eric. He is Magneto. Are you okay, Charles? I think you might be losing it," Logan barked back. "Logan, he's not wearing his helmet. He allowed me into his mind about 10 minutes ago, and I've been going through it multiple times. The reason why he's here is not good. In fact, I'm terrified," Professor Xavier said sternly. Logan looked at the professor and his straight face. Logan sighed and nodded. Then he walked through the mansion and called everyone else down into the lounge. Everyone gathered in, including Nightcrawler, Jubilee, Kitty Pryde, X-23, Darwin, Colossus, Bishop, and Armor, as they all joined the group. "Thank you everyone for allowing me time to speak. An hour ago the world was forever changed. Today, as you know, the government was going to sign a peace treaty, which allowed the law to ban mutant discrimination, which would be enforced by punishment for $1,000 or time in prison, depending on the measurement of the discrimination," Magneto told them. "What's your point here?" Jubilee barked. "Today, the world saw 48 men and women, including businessmen, the Congress Board, and the President himself being slaughtered by X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants," Magneto said. Everyone's mouth dropped open. "But we didn't do anything," Storm blurted. "No. But, as we speak, those who are left to run the country are trying to file death certificates, alert families, and find the next president or their temporary stand-in, and figure out what to do to us," Professor Xavier sighed. "So we're just now wanted criminals?" Scott barked. "Yes, not just that, though. It's also them," Professor said, looking up at Magneto. "Professor, what are you implying here?" Jean asked. "We do not have much time. We are going to be at wit's end. Our backs are against the wall. Eric is in the same position as us. Being separated right now is not an option. The humans believe we killed the president and the government officials together. And if we spread out, thin the herd, so to speak, we can become easy targets. Together we stand a better chance," Xavier explained. "But we cannot stay together. Doesn't that just prove the lie they already believe in?" Hank asked. "Perhaps that is true, but they assumed we killed them, and that puts us in danger. Those who were not there are in danger also of intense hunting, as they would be deemed knowledgeable of our locations. If you are deemed a mutant under the title of X-Men or the Brotherhood, you are in grave danger," Magneto told them. turn on the news, Xavier ordered. Jubilee ran over to the TV and turned it on. A newswoman sat there with tears in her eyes. We are allowed to only show about the first 20 seconds of this clip, as they deemed the video too graphic for viewers, but you must understand the level of importance, the newswoman announced. The screen displayed the conference room, the paper that depicted the Act of Protection laid on the table waiting to be signed. The president shaking hands to a bunch of officials. Then it showed Logan shaking his hand too. Then suddenly his claws extended and he stabbed the president in the neck and blood exploded everywhere. Magneto walked in and used his magnetic abilities to stick everyone to their chairs as Cyclops walked in and started shooting his laser beams, mowing down several people who were defenseless. Storm started blasting lightning from across the room. Beast and Sabretooth started tearing people apart. Then the video cut off. The news reporter came back on the screen. We have a list of the culprits. The X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants have teamed up for the first time to kill the American leaders. They have been blacklisted, and we have safety measures happening right now to make sure these individuals are taken care of, the newswoman said. Then the TV cut out. The whole building went blank. Did we lose power? Morph asked. A sudden sharp noise could be heard from outside. Everyone climbed out the building and looked up at the sky to see several jets flying towards them. There are no pilots, Jean Grey said, trying to reach for the mines inside. The jets flew down and released a barrage of missiles. Kurt, get everyone out of here. Storm, Eric, help me out, Scott ordered. Nightcrawler started grabbing people and teleporting them away down into the basement level of the building. The X-Men level, as Scott took off his glasses and shot laser beams at the missiles, destroying several of them. Storm took flight and summoned a small twister, which threw some of the missiles out of their own trajectory. Magneto raised his hand, but nothing happened. They are not metal, Magneto muttered. Nightcrawler kept teleporting in and out, grabbing 2 X-Men at a time and teleporting them down to safety. Then he grabbed the last few who were defending the mansion and then got them into the danger room also. Well done, Kurt, Storm said. Nightcrawler nodded as he stood there panting. Then suddenly he could feel the mansion trying to rubble above them. Everyone stood there as their home got destroyed. Sir, why did you bring us down here? We could have saved the mansion, Scott barked. I had my reasons, Xavier sighed. Then Hank walked in. Guys, come quickly, Hank bellowed. Everyone walked into the lounge area and saw a big screen. I rigged it up, and I found this. He sighed. He pressed the button and the screen revealed the news once again. This time round, it showed the events that had just transpired at the X-Men mansion. And it showed the X-Men and the Brotherhood arguing and fighting, then the police officers trying to break up the fight. Then it showed the mansion being destroyed via the X-Men and Brotherhood. This is not what happened, Logan growled. That's why you had to hide us. You think it's all being staged, Storm stated. I had my doubts at first. But when the jets came flying past, I saw someone's mind. They were crying out. All I saw was someone guilty. That they gave false evidence towards us mutants, Professor Xavier said. So let me get this straight. Someone is trying once again to stage us, and we have to team up with Daddy Dodo over here? X-23 snapped, pointing at Magneto. This is different. The Sentinels were one thing. But this time round, humans are angry and upset, and something tells me it's going to get a lot worse, Magneto snapped. Once again, I will say, we will trust Eric for now. He makes a wrong move and I'll burn off his face myself. We need everyone hiding out here, the basement level, our X-Men level. It was made for the X-Men, but for now we can welcome the Brotherhood. I'll be treating everyone as an equal. I expect everyone to do the same. No squabbling. To at least find out what's going on, Scott ordered. Professor Xavier strolled up to Magneto. Eric, bring your Brotherhood here. They will be safe, and maybe we could use their talents, Professor Xavier told him. Thank you, Charles. I'll let them know. What about your X-Men on the field? Magneto asked. Luckily, my students want summer break, and most of them have taken vacations to see family or otherwise. But we are missing a couple, Xavier replied. Gambit Rogue are still out, Jubilee gasped. Professor Xavier placed 2 fingers on his temple. To me, my X-Men, come be safe from the world, as we are now in danger, Xavier called out in his mind. The lower levels of the X-Men base had been turned into rooms for people to sleep. There were more people than rooms. Some of the mutants had to share a room. The men and women got separated and the couples were thrown into a separate room. Then there was room for the Brotherhood. Within 24 hours, Gambit and Rogue have returned. Rogue hugged Jean and Storm as they walked in, and Nightcrawler teleported next to Gambit. "How are things, Kurt?" Gambit asked. "It's okay. No one got hurt, but morals are not high," Nightcrawler sighed. "I'm glad you are safe," Storm told Rogue. "We started heading home. We saw some police officers try to pull their guns on us. If we had stayed, we would have been shot," Rogue sighed. The door opened and the Brotherhood of Mutants walked in and joined the X-Men. Onyx Osborn walked into a meeting room where the remaining Governor Board sat. "Onyx, we trust in your ability to hunt down the X-Men and the Brotherhood. We want them dead. You have this one chance. Do you understand?" one governor asked. "Yes, sir." Onyx stood there with a grin, ready to hunt down the mutants. Whether they be an X-Men member or part of the Brotherhood of Mutants, Onyx knew it would not be easy, but he was ready to start World War M. If you enjoyed this storyline, then please make sure you check out the Tiger Tales Marvel and DC fanfiction universe, where I've combined the likes of Marvel and DC into one collaborative ongoing story with multiple tie-in stories that connect all the universe together on Tiger Tales and Tiger Tales The Lost Stories. Then make sure you check out the X-Men and the Avengers Earth's Last Alliance, which is part of Marvel Universe 19. They are both here on Tiger Tales, but also have their own YouTube channel called Marvel Universe 19. So make sure you check that out as well. Now, on to the outro.
This podcast is a production of the Three Ranger Bros Studios, in association with Zio to Hero, the podcast.
And there we have it, guys. Thank you very much for listening to this story. If you've enjoyed this story, then you might want to check out all of my Tiger Tales channels. I'm going to give you a quick rundown. There's Tiger Tales, the first and the original. This is a place where you'll find stories on fanfictions, diving into all sorts of fandoms, including Power Rangers, Pokemon, The Walking Dead, Marvel, DC, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and so much more. Tiger Tales The Lost Stories follows the same suit, but all the stories on that channel are in the first person perspective. Then there's Tiger Tales Game Over, a channel where all of the storylines are related to video games in some way or another. Then we have Tiger Tales X, where I write official crossovers that aren't needed but are very wanted, and crossovers I thought might work. Then, of course, we have Tiger Tales Mysterious Origins. This is the YouTube channel dedicated to my own original stories. All the stories on this channel are original and my own, and it also answers questions on certain characters throughout my stories, like William Cranston, Mr. Pocket, and Ace from the Color Matrix. If you've enjoyed these storylines, then please make sure you check out the following podcasts. Storytime with Cosplay Dude 637, Power Rangers Universe 19, Sailor Moon E, and The Order. And make sure you check out 2 YouTube channels, Nostalgia Time and the One Piece audio drama. They are all written and read to you and edited by Cosplay Dude 637, my Parabatai and best friend. Then make sure you check out the podcast Nerds Through Comics, which is directed by Mark, the Red Corner Ranger. This is where he adapts comic books into audio dramas and also uploads his own original Power Ranger storylines. We are the Three Ranger Bros Studios, a collaborative project, and we are all voice actors and helpers of each other's stuff, so make sure you go check us out. We're in association with the Zio to Hero podcast, so a huge shout out to Billy and Jim, the co-hosts, and of course the podcast and the community that they lead. If we're shouting out podcasts, I have to shout out Jared, the host of If You Give a Damn podcast. Make sure you check it out because he interviews some fantastic guests, from wrestlers to voice actors and the such. And of course, if we're talking podcasts, I have to mention my own, the Tiger Nexus podcast, where I interview content creators and geeks alike. A huge shout out to all my supporters and followers, my voice actors, the people who co-write my chapters, and the sorts. So huge thank you, and of course, a big shout out to A-Crown. Specifically him, because he helps me a lot with some of my stories, specifically the colour matrix and the chapters that go on Telltale's Game Over. Thank you very much guys for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe to the channels, like the videos, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. With that being said, I shall see you guys in the next one.
That before we can...
Don't touch my Pringles.